Good morning, America. This is John G. Presco coming to you live from Springfield, Oregon, also known as Spring Tucky, the land that forsake the women. Yep. Uh, it's 3:45 a.m. and I think I woke up at 3 a.m. on the day of infamy, May 3rd, day that would live in infamy. There's this scene in Doctor Strange Love, or How I Learned to Love the Bomb, where Chill Wills gets on this uh, big nuclear atomic bomb on board the B-52, and he rides the bomb down, as it heads down to Moscow, and he's yee-haw, yee-haw. He's riding it like a horse. Great scene. Probably one of the greatest scenes in film history, and whoever wrote the script, I'm going to have to do a blog on that because the script writing was just out of sight, and it still is. So, Roe versus Wade is going to be repealed. It was leaked that the Supreme Court, the United States of America, is working on that right now, even though they know that the majority of women and Americans don't want it repealed. They're going to do it because in the name of Jesus, because this is all part of the whole right-wing Christian thing that I've been harping on, and it's a big victory for the Southern Baptist men who didn't like Jimmy Carter. They felt Jimmy Carter betrayed them because Jimmy Carter was a Jesus freak. So was his wife. They were loved by evangelicals all through the South, and they let the normal Americans, who were down there in the South, know that they love Jesus. And they won. He won. And Paul Warwick and Farwell and all these other Christian ministers and right-wing lunatics wanted to make sure that he didn't win again, and they knew they had to get rid of his Jesus sitting on his shoulder. You got to get rid of that Jesus puppet, getting them votes. They had to turn Jesus against him, and they came up with the abortion thing, saying that Jesus is against abortions and Jimmy Carter's for them. And people go, really? Well, he's for the evil of killing unborn children? Ah, well, that's going to affect my belief system, and maybe I won't go to heaven if I vote for Jimmy Carter, or, they really weren't talking about the rapture then. What year was that he was elected? 76. They really weren't into the rapture. See, what I'm finally realizing is why I'm not popular. Why leftist hippies and women don't like me. See, because they don't see what I'm harping on. See, they go, oh, what are you talking about? We got this suds, we got women's rights all secured, and the leftist women, are going to get more power for women, and just more and more for liberal leftist men too, who back their women's empowerment, uh, democratic women, and then here appears you, this old guy that looks like Santa Claus and says he's a Republican and he's fighting for women's rights. And then you go, well, we don't need you, oldster, you know? And, Republicans aren't for women's rights. So how can you be for women's rights? See? Hey, we got you. Yeah? Appearances are everything. Now if you're a woman and you were 35 and you're a Democrat, see, we got our little check boxes there. Yeah? Maybe we'll read your blog. Maybe we'll listen to your YouTube tapes. But you say you're the boy that cried wolf, and you're pointing at Jesus. I said, look out, that's the wolf there. Jesus is a wolf. Roman clothing. He's going to take away your women's rights. Oh, yeah, right, Mr. Prescott. Allie Valkyrie and Belle Birch. Let us know who you really are. It's really a red letter day for me, folks. Not bad. A lot of people on CNN are saying, all these pundits on the left are saying that, this will stop the bloodbath of the midterms election because women, especially young women, will actually vote, actually go register to vote. And I did a whole thing about that yesterday, about getting my, this in the mail. See? Timely, isn't it? I made that. I was going to make a whole video on how things seem to have gone back in a way back, Peabody's Wayback Machine to the 50s, and we got the the Russian, leaders saying Hitler was a Jew and he won't apologize to the Jewish nation, Israel, because they're really up in arms. No, I got it right. I hit on Ukraine being Nazified, and Hitler, being a Jew. The greatest Semites are, Semites are Jews. And you're reading this. I'm going to go, read my whole last post. I got tired, for some reason. I said, geez, and that's usually a sign that something's up. See, I'm getting another psychic hit here. Let's see, there we go. So this is going to be a famous post, folks. Very famous. But I really stuck my neck out, see. I posted on 3 women candidates for governor of Oregon. I put this on their Facebook. And they must have went, what the? Whoa, this guy. What a Looney Tune. I hope he's not dangerous. I better call up the FBI. Be sure, he's not targeting me. How would I know? No. He seems to be really anti-Christian and anti-Christ. And what is that about? Huh? We women's liberationists on the left, well, we don't hate Jesus. No, we don't. We don't see him as an enemy. We just don't believe in him. That's it. We just don't believe in him. So, going back in the Wayback Machine, we're going back to 1860, and we're going to visit, again, Jesse Bent Fremont. And that's the leaping off place, see. She wants the slaves liberated, and John Fremont liberates the black slaves of Missouri, which upsets Lincoln because he wanted to send them to New Guinea. He wanted to start a colony, so the nation will not be divided to please uh, the southern states. Because if the North frees the slaves, then they're going to have free black people walking the same streets as the free, you know, white men, and the free white women are got to walk down the street with black people who can vote. Get them to New Guinea. They were all for Lincoln. Lincoln's through Blair's reassuring them, no, you're not going to be suffering some insult, because there were more anti-slavery states, and looks like the 13th Amendment. I forget what the hell amendment it is. It looks like it's going to pass, and abolition, slavery is going to happen, and you're going to have the indignity of black women walking, down the street that's equals to, white women. No, you don't let it happen. You got to, fight. Like, Trump didn't lose. You got to fight. We Christian white women in the South are going to be insulted. We're going to lose our station in the scheme of God's plan. Now, let's bring it up with Bill Rosier about women having the right to vote down in the South. How come the Confederacy, when it did secede from the Union, how come they didn't give women the right to vote? And he demeans me, Let me see if I can copy that, because, indicative of what, why we're in this absolutely hideous state. This is the freest country in the world. It used to be until yesterday. That's fighting Putin and Kirill, who's waged a crusade to take away gay pride parades. And I'm sure they don't, they're anti-abortionists, anti-abolitionists, and a lot of the Southern evangelicals and even ministers support Putin. They like Putin. And they're still not backing Zelensky in his war against tyranny. Well, the war against tyranny begins at home. So here's a punchline. I was trying to deliver it. I was setting Bill Rosier up. He says he's a son of the Confederacy. They had a march against that Confederate monument that the Fremont's artist built. He did Mount Rushmore. And here's the punchline. Black men in the South, freed black slaves, could vote when white women couldn't. Say what? Say what? Yeah. So that's what I'm setting Bill Rosier up for. Because he's pro KKK in his own way. He's pro Confederacy. He believes the Confederacy were victims of the North. But there's this voting thing. He was talking about Washington being good to the Native Americans, and I says, well, that's founding father owned slaves, and he didn't give women the right to vote when he helped form our democracy, did he, Bill? Hey, forget about that. The meaning the people don't read your blog, and you aren't even serious about running. We're going to blah 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 blah. See, and get back in that Peabody Wayback Machine. See, I started to describe it on my last tapes, what that feels like. And that's pretty much proof that I'm a prophet. So all of a sudden I felt tired. I was like, no, I can't read all this. I kind of laid down, and I did. And later on, about 6 hours later, I'm seeing on TikTok that Supreme Court is going to repeal Roe versus Wade. And the first people I thought about was my daughter, how she took my newborn granddaughter from me in a ceremony conducted on her woman's empowerment on Facebook, using this woman's magazine and a real witch to sever some kind of DNA thing. She thinks the DNA comes from her. She thinks I come from her womb. She's a great mother, of the sky women, That's what her mother teaches her. And they did a number on me, which I'll be talking about with my therapist along with this book. And I'm going to be holding this book up to my therapist, a woman therapist, talking about how world famous women artist was demonized by, Robert Breitbart Buck's law firm. When they sold the artistic woman's legacy to Safety Pro, who hired this woman. It said that this woman was already working on Christine's biography. And they had talked, and they said that Christine chose this woman because she read this book. Christine Rosamond Benton, is said in this brochure that I got that appeared on their website, Rosamond website, that Christine read this book and saw this woman's photograph in the jacket of this book and said, well, she looks like me. I'm going to hire her to be my ghostwriter. I'm going to hire her to help me with my autobiography, which I saw about 273 pages, Vicki showed me, but she disappeared. And when they said that this Susan Faulkner was going to be writing Christine's biography, they said that, she turns out to be an artist. And they said that Christine did this jump in the frog thing, this dunk in the frog when she painted it. And they're going to put all that on pillowcases and stuff. And I wrote Cindy Morris, the partner law firm Frank Buck, and I said, I said, wait a minute, Christine took Ira Cohen to court and sued him back in the late 70s to keep her stuff off this stuff. And that's, in the court of law, that's a record. I'm not making that up, buddy. And she didn't want her stuff on that. I said, Christine didn't paint that for her. And Sandra did, because I'm on her website looking at it. Well, they moved that frog into Christine sponsors a bathroom and put it above her bathtub, which is a lie. She never bought that painting. So she went to the gallery. It goes on and on, folks. The point being, is this woman is related to Jessie Benton. He's probably the foremost woman liberationist in the world history. I can't get anybody's interest in her. Oh, she did back in there, matter. Well, now she does. She's the woman of the hour because that's the leaping off point. See, from Jessie Benton Fremont trying to get women to have the vote, and John is saying, no, that would be just too much. We're trying to free the slaves and give women the right to vote. It's going to be too much. We won't get anywhere. And he, John Fremont, did not win the presidential Republican election. He was first candidate for the party he co-founded. So below Susan Faulkner is a beauty contestant whose daughter met Martina Navratilova at a tennis match, and then later she got injured, and she invited her to recoup at Betty's house. So this is a lesbian novel, and they got married, and they went through palimony, they call galimony. They went through a divorce, and this beauty queen sued her, a famous tennis star, because she used her as sort of a chattel, a slave, And this all went down to hell in the tubes yesterday. This book I've been ready to talk about with my therapist, but it's just a mind blower. It's all gone. All the gains, And I'm the guy that's writing Royal Janitor about Victoria Rosamond Bond falling in love with her bodyguard, Miriam Starfish Chrysler. And I didn't think of it, but now I do. I looked up at the abortion issues in Britain, and you can still get an abortion in Britain. You won't be able to get one. A lot of states now won't allow you, and then they're going to go after same-sex marriage. And I've got my bond woman marrying her bodyguard. See, this is like all another chance for my family's history, because my mother was a fierce woman's liberationist. Rosemary Rosamond served in the waves, and then she married a brutal man and got a divorce, and her boss was chasing her around the office on his sexual favors, and then she was making porno movies for Big Bone Drummer, the mafia. So my mother was a woman's liberationist. Then she went insane and started drinking, and that all went out the window. So we'd think that Christine would pick that up, but she was really not secure in her success. She felt that I was responsible for it. I was the real artist in the family. So this is quite a story here. Victoria Rosamond Bond has British citizenship, where Miriam Chrysler is an American citizen. So I got to write a brief chapter on all this, the terrible news, how Jesus was used, Paul Roerick and Southern Baptist ministers to demonize Billy Carter. And I posted on this article. I reposted this article called "The Real Origins of the Religious Right," Political Magazine. The Real Origins of the Political Right. This myth of origins is often repeated by the movement's leaders. In his 2005 book, Jerry Falwell, the firebrand fundamentalist preacher, recounts his distress upon reading about the ruling in the January 3rd, 1973 edition of Lynchburg News. I sat there staring at the Roe and Wade story, Falwell writes, growing more and more fearful of the consequences of the Supreme Court's acts and wondering why so few voices have been raised against it. 1973, folks. He's worrying why more Christians, aren't raising their voice. Hey, this is wrong. Evangelicals, he decided, needed to organize. Evangelicals, he decided, needed to organize. Right there, folks. Read it for yourself. I've repeated this and posted on this and harped on this. Now then, listen, oh man, he's going to die soon. His daughter hates him. She's all for women's liberation. And Belle and Hallie Valkyrie hate him and they want to destroy him. Let him be destroyed. What did he have to say? Well, the clock and turned back to 1973 right here. This is who took away all these empowerments of women. Well, they haven't, it's not official yet, but they're going to do it because of Jerry Falwell organizing the voices of Christian evangelicals, see. And that's, the wolf, that's the little boy with his thumb in the dam, see. Some of these anti-Roe crusaders even went so far as to call themselves new abolitionists, invoking their antebellum predecessors who had fought to eradicate slavery. But the abortion myth quickly collapses under historical scrutiny. In fact, it wasn't until 1979, a full 6 years after Roe, that evangelical leaders, at the behest of conservative activist Paul Weyrich, seized on abortion not for moral reasons, but as a rallying cry to deny President Jimmy Carter a second term. Why? Because the anti-abortion crusade was more palatable than the religious right's real motive, protecting segregated schools. So much for the new abolitionism. There it is, folks. The 2 paragraphs that sunk the women's right of the most powerful democracy that ever appeared on the face of the earth. American women had less power than any European nation. In Britain, now, I can't say about the Russian women, but I read an article this morning, which, that the CIA has now made it easy for Russians to contact them and become agents against Putin and Kirill, who's Jerry Falwell's right-hand man. Jerry Falwell loves Kirill from the grave. And these men are saying that Jesus is all for this. And my platform says, no, he's not. One, he's a myth. And if he was a historic person, he would be on the side of Helena, fighting the Roman slave masters for the temple, her and her sons. And she was Nazareth. So I posted all that, and I realized that I posted on the White Goddess. I posted on the Da Vinci Code, where Mary Magdalene apparently was a greater teacher than Jesus. Posted on that a couple of days ago. So it all, lines up in my book, but no one's reading it, see. But now I think they will, because I got the story of the century. And headline, Jesus repeals women's empowerment. That's it. That could be the name of the book. And they're going to want to know how he did it. I just explained in 2 paragraphs. But it's going to be the most historic uh, revelation, one of them in American history. All right. Well, see, the Sons of the Confederacy were out there at that monument. I told you about that. I'll be posting on that. So let's get on that bomb right to the ground. Yeehaw! Yeehaw! You're waving his hat. I'll put that scene on there from, Dr. Strangelove. All right, you women, you should listen to your elders, even your old men elders. That's where you made your mistake. Yeah, women's empowerment's about not listening to old white men anymore. You don't have to. You don't have to. I don't care whether they're leftist, exhibit. You don't have to listen to old white people, old white men anymore. You join your unempowerment women. Told you so. The biggest told you so in American history, folks. And it's going to get worse.